So I don't know how we put all this for the bonus one.
Well,
We say hello. This is a bonus.
yes.
But after that, because we're recording this in the past, so we don't know what's happening right now.
I know. I wish we did know.
It would be a lot easier for everybody. And every time I try to
No.
think about like how do we explain and how do we phrase this, I don't know why it's hard for me to be like why I'm wrestling with this. How do we explain that we're recording this in the past? And if you're listening to the show, we're not really in another room talking to you in that moment. Because I think most people understand that.
Well, didn't you just explain it? Doesn't that
Uh,
explain it?
well, yes. Don't talk down to me. I don't. Um, I don't know. It just seems weird to be like, "Hey, dummies, we're not doing this live. We don't know what happened."
Hey,
Um,
dummies. That's a really nice way to talk to our guests
I
or
know.
our,
No,
our
no, it's
listeners.
our listeners. Yeah, our guests, we wouldn't do
Even
that.
even worse.
Yeah, that's
Mm,
true.
Wow. I would like immediately unsubscribe if I heard you talk to me that way. I'd
Yeah,
leave the show.
yeah.
And you have every right to call me dummy.
I know. This went to a dark place quickly.
I know. I hope this isn't indicative of what the day's gonna be
I know. It's so
when it
true.
actually airs.
So maybe we just say, hello, listeners.
Mhm.
It is Wednesday, November 4th, but it's not really Wednesday, November 4th. It's really October 20. No, it's October 30th.
October 30th.
I don't know
Mhm.
where I am right now.
I don't
And
either, which is much like I believe how we're gonna feel on November 4th.
that's true. Um,
So
we don't know what's going on where you are. We hope it's sunny,
mhm, and
but
warm.
yeah, that would be nice too.
Mhm. We hope you're
But
happy.
yeah, and maybe you don't know if you're happy yet, which is what everyone's sort of saying.
Yeah,
But we might not know how everyone's feeling.
true.
But either way, we thought maybe a nice distraction to all of the ratcheting anxiety, which I don't know, for me, I feel like it's just going to be by the hour, if not by the minute, just cranking that belt
Yes.
tighter and tighter, where you're just like, I can't take this.
I'm
So
just gonna be
we
eating
are
more
often
and more chocolate,
you and Captain just sitting on the sofa.
just stress eating all day long,
Hmm. Yeah.
except to
Hmm.
break for
What?
some good interviews, but yeah.
Right. Who are you going to be watching for the night for the returns? Do you know yet?
I don't know yet.
Because we're normally an NBC family. Because I feel like no matter what I want to hear, good or bad, I'd like to have Lester Holt tell it to me.
See, I don't disagree with that, but I really am a huge GMA fan.
Mm,
So I'm an ABC morning kinda gal, and then
right.
sometimes by the time I get home, I haven't changed the channel, and I really don't mind David Muir telling me anything either. I mean,
Okay. Fair enough.
I find either of them comforting.
Right. In their own way. Where it's odd that you would think somebody who looks like Wolf Blitzer would be the most snuggly, cozy arms to sidle up to and just play little spoon to his big spoon as he's telling you something that's happened. And I just don't feel that way about the man.
I don't either. I don't either.
And if he's listening, hey, Wolf, love your work. Please come on the show.
Yes, and forgive us for
Right, exactly. You can
curling
be
curling up with
big,
someone else.
yeah, you can be big spoon anytime.
Mhm.
So we thought we would put out something more positive because I think if you could say anything about Yakov, and we can,
We can say a
that
lot.
yeah, he's very pro America.
He is very pro-America.
So I think this might be a good yin to the yang of probably some confusion and frustration on everybody's parts over the next few days,
Yes.
that perhaps you need somebody of Yakov's stature to come in and say, This all might be messed up, but
What a country.
right, where would you rather be? You know? And I guess you're going to have to explain democracy to Captain because this is his first general, correct?
I think it is.
Yeah, that's a lot to try to fit into a, you know,
Uh,
8-hour news binge.
yeah,
Mm,
the brain of a Pomeranian.
yeah. Hmm. That is gonna be hard.
He'll be okay. He'll probably do what he's doing right now and just sleep right on through it.
That's really that's what we all wish we could do, isn't it, anyway?
Mhm.
You get right down to it.
Yeah.
So, so enjoy Yakov. What a country.
What a country.
And we will see you on Monday where hopefully something's shaken out, maybe?
Hopefully. If not, we'll have something fun to
That's true. Oh,
turn up.
Warren. Here's Warren Oates.
See, what's Warren Oates gonna do on election night?
He's probably
Warren
gonna
is Hi, Warren. He's
he's
like,
wide
"I'm
awake.
out."
Yep, he's gone.
He's
No, we
preparing his campaign speech.
I know. We've started, I've always wanted to get cats so I could have an office cat, and now both
Yes.
of them have taken to sleeping on my sofa. So I have an office cat and I have a backup office cat. In case the first one can't do whatever you need an office kitten to do, there's another one
Yes.
there to just take over, so it's kinda perfect.
Well, yeah, or you're fast tracking your way to being a lovely old spinster.
Oh, well, that's true. Is it because I'm wearing my house coat all the time when I'm
Mhm.
working?
Well, yeah, if we could
Yeah.
get our robes, then
Oh my
yes.
god, yeah, please. I don't know, I feel like my life, I'm already Sophia, you know?
Well, I know, but it's okay. I'm
Yeah,
Blanche, so it's fine.
true, yeah.
This is Why, with your hosts, Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling.
You started doing comedy. You were born in Ukraine, correct?
Correct, correct.
What was comedy like in the Ukraine at that time,
Um, it
kind
was
of compared to the clubs here?
no, it was more of a vaudeville style. Comedians did not do like an hour show. They would just do 5 minute sets between. Normally, it would be introducing other acts and doing something that you would the challenge was that everything owned by the government,
Mhm,
so the government ran everything, all the theaters and clubs, and clubs were not the same as you can kind of imagine the Comedy Store or something like that. It was more about like professional clubs, like teachers would have their club. So it would be like a small theater or a bigger theater. And all were controlled by the government. And so we had the Ministry of Culture. To do comedy, you need to get your material approved by the Department of Jokes, which was part of the Ministry of Culture. So everything was being approved, whether it's singing, music, what kind of music, what kind of, and comedy was more censored than anything else. And
Sure.
so that's understandable. And so it was one of those things that we got used to. And if you want to perform, that's what you had to do.
What was I'm assuming it was a male, a guy that you were performing your routine for in the Ministry of Jokes?
You wouldn't perform for him, you would just submit it in writing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
So
those were
it wouldn't be like kind of the way comics compare their work, where the other one just sits there and goes, "Oh, that's good. That's funny."
no,
Yeah.
no,
No, okay.
no, it wasn't. It was more like they would, you send it in 3, 4 pages of your jokes, and then they cross them out and say, not funny, not funny, similar to what you're describing, but it was in writing. So you had a proof of it.
Right.
Like, wow,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
How were they as coaches? Did they help you get better, or
No,
was their
no,
taste
no.
in material awful? Awful material?
Their goal was not to make you better. Their goal was to protect the Soviet regime from anybody saying something that was not appropriate One of the jokes I remember was silly, but they didn't like it. It was a silly joke. It was, well, why couldn't toilet paper cross the road? Because it got stuck in a crack. So silly and funny,
Right.
Yeah,
but
right.
they said it's not funny because we don't have toilet paper.
Oh, well. So what brought you here?
Well, my dad probably was the initiator of this move. He didn't believe in the Soviet system. He thought it was very dangerous, and he was hoping to get out. He used to listen to like Voice of America, which was forbidden, but he would wake up in the middle of the night and listen to it, and then in the morning tell me and mom like what was going out there. And it sounded, at first mom was very against it, dad was for it, I was kind of a tiebreaker. And so when I got older, I got to work on the cruise ships, and I call it the love barge. And that's where I met Americans and some people from other countries, Australia, European countries, and they were so much more free to do. At least it felt that way, that they did not feel restricted like the Soviet people were. So that was a big difference for me, that I was able to kind of see that I have a future somewhere else, and so that's what initiated my desire to come. Mom, now she was in minority, so she kind of accepted this, and was very difficult on her, probably more than on me and my dad. But we were adventurous. We went to, and I didn't speak English. I didn't know if I'll ever do comedy, because in the Soviet Union, I was becoming more and more successful for a 25-year-old comedian. But I was willing to risk all of this in the hope that I can someday get on stage.
Wow.
And how long after you came to the US did you try going back up on stage again?
Well, I'm pretty determined when I set my mind to something. So I got the job. First, I decided I'm going to be a bartender, because on the cruise ship, the audience would be whoever was in the bar. They would eventually end up in the show, and so it was the same audience, the same kind of an atmosphere. So I figure I'll just be a comedian in an individual basis, so I can mix drinks and tell people jokes or whatever. That, again, this was just a long-term plan and I figured that will help me learn English, even though it was with a slur, because people were drunk. So that's how I started. So they gave me an opportunity. I would test jokes on my customers, and then I went to the gentleman who was booking the acts, and I said, "Would you allow me to perform?" And he said, "Well, you're not ready because, you probably have maybe 5 minutes of." I said, "Yeah," but he said, "But you can." There's a game Simon Says in the afternoon in the lobby, and you might be able to test your strengths there, which was kind of interesting. And I said, sure. And so I did that, and I thought it was doing well, but then towards the end of my set, I had this woman started laughing. It seemed like she was laughing really hard, and then it kept going and going, and then they realized she had seizures.
Oh no.
Yeah. So people would come to me after that and say, "You were killing, man. You were killing."
Of
And I'm
course.
going, "No, not killing,
That's
not
that.
killing."
Anything but that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What was it like the first time you were on stage doing your show?
In America
Mhm.
or in Russia?
Either
Yeah.
or, actually.
Oh, first time in Russia, I was in technical school. I was learning to become a refrigerator mechanic, and so they were some holiday a show was they were putting together, and so they asked me if I want to participate in it, and I was like 15, and um, but I thought I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to sing. So like practiced 2 songs, and when I started singing, people started laughing. That wasn't the reaction I was looking for.
Yeah, not great.
But one other thing, because there was only a few people in that show, they wanted me also to be an MC. So then I was able to tell jokes, and then they were laughing the way I was hoping for.
Right.
So that was a one-time deal that made me realize, don't sing. This is not your strength. And so that guided me straight to comedy.
You end up in LA, you're playing at the Comedy Store. You were roommates at one point with Tom Wilson and Andrew Dice Clay.
Yes. Yes.
Who was the better roommate?
Great question.
Did Dice leave his dishes in the sink? You know.
Dice was teaching me English.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. I knew all the nursery rhymes. He did his due diligence. Actually, they were like 2 opposite ends of a spectrum, because people who understand comedy know Tom Wilson different than he was Biff in Back to the Future. So
Right.
he's a kind, gentle, giant guy, and Andrew is an opposite of, like the hoodlum trying to be, or whatever. I don't know. So they were a lot of fun to be around, But to be honest, Andrew cracks me up probably more than anyone else on the planet. He does, because he is different with me than when he is on stage. Totally different. And
Right.
he is playing an underdog with me. I'm the smart one, and he is the one that doesn't know anything, and he is from Brooklyn, and all of that. So he would crack me up, because he would just, you knew he was playing, but yet he would just, I would have a girlfriend, and the girlfriend would be waiting for us to be alone, and Andrew would sit there and would not want to leave. And he said, no. And I'm saying, Andrew, don't you think we have something, can do something? Are you telling me that you'd rather be with her more than with me? When did that started? And I would just laugh. I couldn't stop laughing.
And I didn't really think about it at all. Like, I knew you growing up. I've seen the commercials, I'm pretty sure I watched the sitcom.
Oh, I totally watched it. I loved it.
And it didn't really hit me until I started kind of boning up on everything before we talked. You're doing all of this in a second language. Like, this is not, it's mind blowing. Like, how difficult, did you have to completely rework your jokes and the sort of sense of humor? How much of that comes from the knowing the language?
I think the language, obviously, the language is very important, but yet it was also not knowing the language gave me a chance to uncover some things that Americans were laughing at, So like one of my jokes early was I was still working in a bar, and I realized that the word yep in English means yes, and in Russian means sex. Same word. And people sitting at the bar and they're like, yep, yep, yep. And I'm like, no wonder they're happy in America, but those were kind of it gave me, not knowing the language gave me an opportunity to see America also from that lens that made it funny.
But even in addition to the language, understanding the timing for delivery had to be really challenging.
I don't think so. I think timing was very similar to what I'm already, and I continue the same. That timing stays the same today as it was in the Soviet Union, as it was in America. It's the same timing. It's an interesting conversation to have because, um, I strongly believe that laughter as an entity, as a human, what would you call it? Quality, if you human ability, human,
Mhm.
it's totally um, underestimated because I believe that people only see it as a um, as a way to say, well, we really enjoyed it, we laughed together, we had a great time, but nobody really understands why. Yeah, and um, I went on that quest because I was married to an American woman, then I got divorced. And what I noticed, and I don't know if anybody ever done that research, but I did, that laughter was there in the beginning of the relationship. And I asked that question like over 5 million
Mhm.
people in my theater in Brent, and everybody remembers that laughter is being genuinely created easily in the beginning of the relationship. And then I asked him, how many of you would go on the second date if you didn't have laughter on the first date? No one. No
Mm.
one. None of those qualities of laughter have been understood or even explored. So if we go to comedy club like a strip joint in a way for a certain amount of emotion, we know we're going to laugh, and the professionals are doing their job, right? But if you compare it to strip club, you can do that at home if you have a right partner and have a lot more fun than
Deep.
paying for it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it is deep. It is. So my doctorate work my dissertation was on laughter as a gauge of a health of the relationship. And
Amazing.
if you're laughing together, you're good. You're doing good. If you're not, yep, is going to be the next thing to go.
Right.
Right.
And I wanted to ask about that since you are our list of doctors we've had on the show is growing.
It is.
Unfortunately, it's also our list of doctors we don't want to have perform an appendectomy. But how long did you work on this? How did this all process come about? Because most people don't go from their own theater to saying, now let me see what I can do with this scientifically. What can I learn
Right.
from this?
Back to school.
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't. I guess there's a picture of my dad behind me, but uh, uh, the I guess my dad was an engineer and inventor, and so I guess I got that part from him of trying to figure out how is it happening? How, if you ask, I don't know, you're in this podcast. I'm curious, if you ask other comedians what really creates laughter, I bet you nobody really will know. They'll say timing, right? What else would you say?
Oh boy, this is just like
Time.
this is about our what makes a pizza conversation we had
I
2 weeks ago.
Ah,
Is it a juxtaposition of something? The introduction of a third idea that is
that
unexpected?
And is it energy from other people?
well, I think both, but
But
what
which one is righter? Is it me or Heidi?
Shut it.
Oh, good.
neither one, neither one.
Fail.
Sorry, but what we're talking about here is the juxtaposition or element of surprise. That's a good description of humor, not laughter.
Mm,
Laughter is a result of something, right? Laughter is pizza,
right.
and how is it made? And I did a lot of research on this, and I believe that what two other ingredients that most people overlook is meeting the needs of your audience. So by telling the jokes, it's a setup, punchline, laugh, right? The setup is me explaining the situation. I'm painting the picture, and then if you're satisfied with the picture, you're going to be interested to hear the punchline. If you're not satisfied, you're probably not going to laugh anyway. So if I got you engaged and met your needs, and then I use this sense of humor to trigger the laughter, which is element of surprise, or you might say cognitive dissonance of something that nobody expected, and the more surprising it is, the funnier it is. But here's the challenge that people don't know that they were able to create laughter in the beginning of the relationship. Otherwise, they wouldn't be even together. But then they don't know that the part that they don't follow through is the needs of the other person being met. Attention to it.
When you look at America now, do you still say what a country?
And I put question mark on the end.
Mm,
Yeah, it's not. I'm still very hopeful
mhm.
that we can rebound from this, but I also know that I'm watching in slow motion what happened in Russia. It was a slow, but this time it's on steroids because we
Right.
have social media.
Yeah.
So there is forces that are against this capitalist society that have been so good to so many people around the world, and there are people who want to tear it down.
Mm. Oh, on that note,
Oh, man.
I hope I'm wrong, but I will do my best to at least explain to people through my podcast. You ask what's next. That's
right? Yeah.
when I see myself bringing those topics up, trying to keep it light as much as I can, but I'm more interested in exposing the truth. I feel like Toto in The Wizard of Oz. You know, he didn't have a big part, but then he pulled back the curtain and exposed the truth. And to me, the truth is that Americans really, really have a tough time understanding that you created kind environment in this country because you live in abundance. We created in the Soviet Union a fearful environment because we lived in scarcity. I remember, I'll leave you on this story when my mom, we arrived to America, and my mom was really depressed because she said, I don't see a role that I can play in this country. In the Soviet Union, I had a purpose. I would stand in line for bread for 2 hours. Then I go to line for milk for an hour and a half. Then another hour and a half for rice or macaroni, something to feed the family. And I felt like I had a purpose. Here I can walk into any supermarket and I can get anything I want in 10 minutes for the whole week. What am I going to do here? And I said, Mom, don't get discouraged. So I took her to a place that reminded her of the Soviet Union. I took her to Department of Motor Vehicles. She felt right at home.
For more information about Yakov, to get tickets to his show in Branson, to find out about upcoming tours, to learn more about his artwork, you can go to his website, which is yakov.com, and you can follow him on Twitter, where he is at Yakov_Smirnoff.
You can follow us on all the various socials. Our website is whythepodcast.com and has all sorts of additional stories and videos. It's also where you can sign up for our newsletter. We're also on YouTube, if you're into that kind of thing. And don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, because if you don't, we'll call your mother and tell her that she's completely right. You would look so much prettier if you smiled more.
Why the Podcast is part of Mudhouse Media. Today's show was produced by myself and Heidi Hegquist. Our reluctant executive producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing executive producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our graphic designer is Samantha Mustonen. The theme song was performed by the Electrosynth-O-Magnetic Polyphonic Orchestra. This one's for Philippe. Thanks for joining us. Flash, we're coming home.
Nigel, is that you? Are you here, Nigel?